All right. All right. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to Survive to Thrive. Grab some pen and paper. We are going to pick up where we left off on Tuesday, which was the 14-point listing presentation. I'm going to skip ahead to the pricing conversation. So just to kind of give you the outline as we go through the listing presentation, starts with gratitude. You lead from gratitude to setting expectations. You go from expectations to doing a needs analysis. Next is prioritizing the needs, trial close, demonstrate how you're going to satisfy their needs. In other words, how you're going to meet their goals and exceed their expectations. And from there, you're going to get into the pricing conversation. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go through the comp process and how you're comping out these homes. So cross your fingers and hope this works. All right, you should be seeing on your screen some notes that starts with comps at the top. Can somebody give me a thumbs up and let me know that's what you're seeing? Yes. Good, good, good. Okay. Uh, I don't, if I would make this larger, but it would be too large to fit on the page. So hopefully everybody can see this. If it's way too small, somebody stop me and I'll enlarge it. Okay, so first of all, when you're looking at comparables, uh, what makes up market value location? Starts with location. Now, when I'm talking about location, I'm not talking about where the property is located, like Palm Harbor or in such an or in Eagle Creek subdivision. I'm specifically speaking to the subject property. Does it back up to another home? Is it on a busy street? Is it on water? Is it on the golf course? If it is on water, what kind of water is it on? And so on, because that's going to make a difference in the value of the property. It'll make a difference in how you price the property. Use the 10% rule. So the 10% rule means that if you have a 3,000 square foot property, and we're always looking at square footage under air, not total square footage. So you're looking at the square footage under air. So for example, the garage and the porch don't count, but you're looking at the air conditioned square footage or the heated square footage. 10% rule says that if the subject property is 3,000 square foot, I'm looking at homes between 2,700 square foot and 3,300 square foot. Ideally, it's not written in stone. You can go outside that just a little bit. But if you're looking at a 3,000 square foot home, you're not going to use a 4,000 square foot home as a comparable. All right. Amenities. For example, does the home have a pool? In the state of Florida, it's a must. Pretty much every house over a certain price range has a pool. You just expect it. Whether you're ever going to get in the pool or not, it counts and it matters. What kind of updates does it have? And functional obsolescence. We'll get into that in just a moment. All right, so we're going to use an example here. We've got a 3,000 square foot home. It's a 322. It's updated and it has a pool. So the first comparable that we're going to pick, and we picked three comparables because that's what an appraiser is going to do. All right. So I want to find three properties that are as close to the subject property as possible. The first comparable has 2,800 square foot. It's a 322. It's more updated and it doesn't have a pool. It's sold for $535,000. By the way, we went back in doing these comparables, we went back 90 days because we want to find properties that have sold most recently. Now, if you go down here to adjusted, you'll see that I adjusted the price on that property to 500. I kept it at 535,000. Sorry, I didn't make any adjustments. Well, I did, but here's the reason the price stayed at 535. More updated, but it doesn't have a pool. So not having a pool, the appraiser is going to give it $20,000 for a pool. So we would add $20,000 to comparable number one, or we would take it away. We would add it. Sorry, we would add it for it not having a pool, and then because it's more updated, we would take away $20,000 so they cancel each other out. We're still at 535,000. All right, comp number two is 3,200 square foot to 322. It's updated. It has a pool. It backs to a small lake. So in order to determine how much additional value that small lake is going to add, we're looking at other homes in the neighborhood that sold with that were on the same lake or properties that are on similar water. And in doing that, we found that it adds $20,000 in value. So under adjustable number two, we took $20,000 away from subject number two, and we adjusted the price down to 565. In other words, if it wasn't on that lake, it would have sold for 565. We're also looking at price per square foot on all these as well. All right. Comparable number three is 3,100 square foot. It's a 322. It's updated. It has a pool. Sold for $540,000. No adjustments. It stays at 540,000. Now, we took the sale price divided by the square, we took the sale price divided by the square foot. We get 191 a square foot on subject one or on comp one, 171 on comp two, and 174. They average out at $179 a square foot multiplied by the 3,000 square foot subject property. We're coming up with $537,000. All right, let's talk about functional obsolescence. So guys, sorry, I'm reading to you because I actually want to get the definitions to you as it is written. So functional obsolescence is a loss of property value caused by outdated or poorly designed features that reduce usefulness or desirability for current market standards, even if the property is structurally sound. So what it means is reduced appeal, lower market value, and it's not about physical deterioration. Or functional obsolescence is about design flaws or outdated features, not necessarily the property being old or run down. Examples: architectural design, an unconventional or impractical floor plan, such as having multiple small rooms instead of an open concept layout. Outdated features, a house with a one-car garage where two-car garages are the standard. Lack of modern amenities, an old house with only one bathroom and four bedrooms, misalignment with trends, a property that doesn't incorporate modern lifestyle preferences, such as an open floor plan. Okay, then you have curable and uncurable. So take that into consideration as well. I'll add in that in a shifting market, two of the hardest properties to sell are a home with a one-car garage and a home that back up to a busy street. All right, so if we have $537,000 as our price, then that means we can just list the property for 537 and everything's okay, right? You know the answer to that is no, it's not right. This is where we have to get into a strategic pricing conversation. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to do a supply and demand analysis within a 2 to 3 mile radius of the subject property. And we're looking $525 to $550,000. Now, I normally look in $50,000 price ranges, but I narrowed it down to 525 to 550 this time because of the amount of data that was available. And I wanted to get as close to that 537 price as possible. Here's what I found. We have 12 properties that are currently for sale between $525 and $550,000 within a 2 to 3 mile radius of the subject property. In the last 6 months, 18 sold. Divided by 6 means 3 are selling every 30 days. And we're going to take the number of homes that are currently for sale divided by the number of homes that are selling every 30 days. We have 4 months of inventory. Now, I want you guys to go down here. All right. So days on market, when you have 0 to 60 days on the market, prices are going up. You have buyers that are competing for listings. They're outbidding one another and they're causing the prices to go up. When you get to 90 days on the market, you've got 9 homes for sale, 3 are selling every 30 days. The market plateaus, it levels off. Prices are no longer going up, but they haven't started falling yet either. Now, when you get to 120 plus days on the market, prices are starting to fall, which means in this graph, if we put the property at $537,000, we're in a declining market, which means if it doesn't sell right away, it's going to be worth less money. So there's two things that we want to focus on here. First of all, way back over here, we have 4 homes for sale competing for 1 buyer. Super important. Now, the only way you're going to win that competition if you're one of those sellers is price. Now, looking at the 12 homes that are for sale and going through each of those properties and figuring out, are they more updated? Are they less updated? How do they compare location-wise? Is it a more desirable location? Is it a less desirable location? Amenities such as a pool or no pool. We're taking all of that into consideration. We're looking at, are there any homes out of those 12 that are I call them ghost listings because they're on the market, but they're really not on the market, meaning that they're for sale between 525,000 and 550,000, but they're so overpriced, they should probably be under 500,000. So we're not even competing against them, so we're just going to take them off the list. Or there's functional obsolescence issues where it's going to be more difficult to sell those properties, so that's going to take them out of the competition as well. Because of those functional obsolescence issues, they're going to need to be in that lower price range, by the way. All right. So keep that in mind too. We want to find the bottom 25% in price. That's our target. And the bottom 25% in price is right here. It's 528, 527, 530, $530,000 list price. Should get this property sold in the next 30 days. Now, if you go in and just say, well, the comparables say 537, but I think we should list your home for 530, you're never going to win that. They're always going to say, I still want to start at 530. We can always lower the price later on, or a buyer can always make an offer. But when you get this deep into the data, and remember, when you're sitting at that kitchen table, you're a teacher. You are teaching the homeowners how the market works. And when you get this deep into the data and you provide evidence for this is the strategy, you're going to get buy-in. In other words, they're going to agree with you. Now, I'm never going to say, based on the information we've looked at, I think that we should be at $530,000. I'm going to do everything that I just did with you, including this, and I'm pulling out my legal pad, sitting at the kitchen table, doing what Zig Ziglar used to call working on your thinking pad, and I'm drawing pictures. So Dr. Sylvia, as I'm having this conversations with you, I'm drawing pictures, I've got my markers out, and I'm showing everything that I just showed to you. And then I point to that pad and I ask them, all right, what should we do? Now, ideally, I want them to come back and tell me, John, we need to be in that bottom 25% in price. We need to be at 530,000. And your response to that is, I agree. Now, if they come in with, can't we still try 550? Because we could always lower the price later on, or a buyer can always make an offer, then you're just going to skip to the next page of your thinking pad or your legal pad, and you're going to draw the same picture. I'll do this as quickly as I can that we did on Tuesday or last week, I forget. And you're simply going to say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I understand. And typically, here's what happens when we start out at a price based on the fact that we can lower the price later on, or a buyer can always make an offer. This is my suggested list price based on the data. This is the price you want to start at. 0 to 30 days. We're going to get the greatest amount of activity on your property. It's called the window of opportunity. And when that seller comes to me somewhere usually between 60 and 90 days on the market, and they say, you know what, you were right, go ahead and lower the price, and we drop that price to 530,000, we've missed that window of opportunity. And then a buyer somewhere around 120 days comes in, they love your home. They ask, how long has it been on the market? Realtor says 120 days. They ask, what's wrong with it? Realtor says, nothing's wrong with the house. Now the buyer is thinking, what? I'm going to offer them full price, Nicole? Of course not. Hi, Nicole, by the way. Nice to meet you. They're going to think opportunity, and they're going to come in with a lower price. So the buyer comes in and offers, let's say 510. That would be lucky, by the way. Seller sells the house, super unhappy, and they lost $20,000 trying to make an extra $20,000. Now, on top of that, they have 90 days of additional holding costs. So let's just say it's $4,000 a month. So they lost another $12,000 in holding costs. So they really lost $32,000 trying to make an extra $20,000. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what do you think we should do? Now, every single word that I just said there, by the way, is a script. If you've been a part of Survive to Thrive for the past couple of years, you've seen me deliver this a couple hundred times. Go back and watch the recordings and know what nothing changes. Every single word is a script. Now, I'm not saying that for any reason other than, is this duplicatable? 1,000%. Everything that I'm telling you is duplicatable. You know, Nicole, when you and I spoke on the phone, I talked about being a skill-based real estate coach, right? And this is skill that I'm teaching you, and skill can be duplicated. This isn't something that I have that you don't. All you have to do is PDR, practice, drill, rehearse, until you've internalized everything I do and everything I say. And you're going to start taking more listings than you could ever possibly imagine, because when you've mastered this part of the conversation, it's the most important part. The pricing part of the conversation is the most important part of the conversation. This is how you separate yourself from everybody else. When you've mastered this at a really high level, you are an in-demand real estate agent, and now your fee doesn't even matter. All right, take yourself off mute. Talk to me, guys. Let's go, Sean.
All right. The last graph you put up as you were going through it again, two things came to mind. One, it's really that graph is really about negotiations. Do the sellers want to negotiate from a place of strength, or do they want to negotiate from a place of weakness? And the time dictates where they're going to be on either one of those.
That's
And
right.
then the other thing is discovery. All these questions are about leading the horse to water and making them drink. It's not, hey, this is what I think. It's like, what do you think? And you're just orchestrating the conversation to get them to be like, oh, yeah, it needs to be below five, or this other thing will happen. And then they just naturally get it, hopefully.
That was good, Sean. You know, whenever somebody says something really smart, I look to Birgit to see how she responds, because she's our thought coach here on Survive to Thrive. She gave you clapping hands. So she agreed that was really good. Let's go, Joe Grant.
So, question on the way you adjusted for square footage was a little bit different than I was taught to. I was taught it by appraisers, and that was a box is a piece of a house is a box on a piece of land,
Right.
and the square footage that you showed is finished square footage. They say just take your subject property, take the comp, divide it to get the delta on the square footage, multiply it by $50 a square foot, and if it's better, you subtract it. If it's worse, you add it and you go that way. So how did you come up with doing yours the way you do?
All right. I'm not 100% sure I understood everything you just said. So let me explain this. Okay. First of all, I'm only looking at comparable properties. This is why I would never compare a 2,000 square foot home to a 3,000 square foot home, because if you looked at the improvements, let's say you have two homes that are exactly the same. Okay, they're 322s, they have the same amenities, built the same year, same updates, they're exactly the same home, except one's 3,000, the other's 2,000. Which one is going to sell for more money per square foot? The 2,000 square foot home, because you're dividing improvements into a smaller space. So of course it's going to sell for more money per square foot. It's not going to sell for more money. The 3,000 square foot home will. But when I do, Joe, is I'm looking at homes that are within 10% of each other. Now, the adjustments are based on improvements, they're based on amenities, they're based on location, for example. If one of my comparables is more updated, okay, and we're allowing $20,000 for updates, we take $20,000 away from the comparable to adjust the price to a lower number. In other words, this is what it sold for if it didn't have the additional updates. The comparable is more updated. So we're giving $20,000 for those updates. So we're taking $20,000 away from the price that's the comparable sold for in order to bring the price down where it would be if it didn't have those updates. So it's more in line with the subject property. Or let's say the comparable has a pool, subject doesn't. We're given $20,000 for the pool. Since the comparable property has a pool, we're taking away $20,000 from the price it sold. In other words, this is what it would have sold for without the pool. Don't know if that answered your question, but I did the best that I could.
It did. It's a little different, but yeah. All right.
I think we're coming up with the same result, by the way. So, okay, Birgit, talk to me.
I love pricing conversations because they take me right into one of my favorite of real estate, which is negotiations. But anyways, I'm going to piggyback off Sean. Remember to pull out what is the emotional truth of your client? What do they immediately want? What do they want for the future? And what is their motivator to make that change? So the better you are on your discovery, the better you'll be able to lead them into the pricing conversation and through the pricing conversation to land on the same page, because that's your goal. Try to land on the same page.
That's right. Good job. Thank you, Birgit. Let's go, Andre.
Yeah, so on the subject of how you add and remove, I have a rule of thumb. If you take the subject property and the comparable, so you're talking about the comparable. If anything's better in the comparable, then you deduct. Like more square footage, you deduct. Better appliances, everything, deduct. If it's lesser, then you add.
So,
That's just a rule of
but
thumb.
where are you adding and subtracting? Because that's the conversation. Are you,
Okay.
yeah.
Square footage,
No.
condition.
No. Are you adding to the subject property, taking away from the subject property, or from the comparables?
Okay. I'm doing it on a level. Okay, so if you got a graph, you have the subject property, you have the comparables in these lines.
Mhm.
So when I'm doing it from the comparables, I'm not touching the subject property. I'm always working on the comparables and adjusting there. I'm leaving this alone because we don't know the price yet.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
okay.
It's the same
So
thing.
if it's good, it's better than the subject, you add, you take away.
Take away.
Yeah. And then if it's lesser,
That's
then you
right.
add.
That's right.
Okay. That's just a rule of thumb that I use.
That's right. Thank you,
And I
Andre.
do a lot.
Joe, he might have just made what I said make a little bit more sense. So, but we're saying the same thing. Andre just did a better job of explaining it. All right, that was a wrap. A little bit of more high C conversation than I typically like to have. Thank you for bearing with me today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And tomorrow is script and role play day. Invite your friends. Let's build a house and make it a great day, everybody.
Have a
Thank you,
good
John.
week.
All right, go get them, everybody.
Thank you.
Love it. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you.